fierce emotions.
Marriage is about bringing together male and female.
It is not as popular as it used to be a bigot.
The heated debate in the battle over same-sex marriage.
Have both sides gone too far?
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
Some say it's a hard life, but it's hard for us all. Always hold on.
In 10,
Always
9,
be strong. Reach out.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Stand by, camera 6. Today, things in the studio could get very heated. I'm starting the show from the center aisle because this is not a regular audience. Today's audience is physically split down the middle on a controversial topic, a topic that has millions of Americans nationwide impassioned to a degree seldom seen. We're talking about the hot button issue, same-sex marriage. The people on my left believe very much in the right to have a gay marital union. The people on my right think the institution of marriage should only be extended to a union between one man and one woman. That's the topic today. Same-sex marriage. Is it right or wrong? Is it a corruption of morality and the definition of marriage? Or is the banning of it discrimination against a minority group by denying them equal rights and treatment? What are the values driving the debate? Is it about democracy, civil rights, religion? Is there a blurring here of church and state? These questions and more have people writing letters, arguing with friends and family, and are the words, feelings, and concepts that people are marching about at protests and rallies across the country.
What do you want? When do you want them?
Only the likely passage of Proposition 8 has sparked outrage tonight.
2, 4, 6, 8. Separate the church and state.
It bans same-sex marriage here in California.
For upwards of 20,000 gay and lesbian couples who married in California, legal experts say their future is not entirely clear.
They did nothing except this: fall in love and say, I do.
Gay, black, white, marriage is a civil right.
I know many homosexuals who are my friends. Let's distinguish between them and the radical gay agenda, who demand certain things that are not theirs to demand.
Today, all over the nation and the world, people are marching for basic equality and basic rights.
We are not anti-gay. We're pro-marriage between a man and a woman. There's a huge difference.
I feel like it's spreading hatred.
Homosexuality is a perversion.
It's a little hard to watch people sort of fight for their rights and then have them yanked away.
God is the one who designed it.
Equal right! Equal right!
Yes, Jesus loves me. 2, 4, 6, 8. Separate the church and state.
What God has put together, referring to a man and woman, let no man tear asunder, be it a Supreme Court or anybody else.
This election year, voters banned gay marriage in 2 states, Florida and Arizona, and repealed the right in California, bringing the total of states restricting marriage to one man and one woman to 29. It remains legal in Massachusetts and Connecticut. My goal today is not in any way to influence your thinking and opinion one way or the other, because that is and should be a very personal thing for each individual and family. But what I do want to do is make you think. So I implore you to have an open mind as I lead you through what I think is a very thought-provoking discussion, and a discussion that I think it is important to have. And that's why I love doing this show every day, so we can talk about the topics that are important to this country. So my goal today is to present in a fair and balanced manner the positions from both sides of the issue, and I want to do it for every one of you to think about, consider, and really give some time. I hope to accomplish this by bringing you some of the key players that have been at the heart of the 2 sides of this controversial and emotionally charged issue. I plan to ask each of them the questions that I think you would ask if you were here and could inquire about their beliefs, positions, and motivations. Let's meet our very distinguished panel here today to debate this issue. In support of same-sex marriage are San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom, Joe Salmonese, president of the Human Rights Campaign, and equal rights advocate and attorney Gloria Allred. On the other side of this issue are Pastor Jim Garlow of the Skyline Church in San Diego County, Maggie Gallagher of the National Organization of Marriage, and Jeff Flint from Yes on 8 campaign. So I welcome all of you, and I hope we have a good discussion today. Reverend, let me start with you. You were a major moving force in getting Proposition 8 on the ballot in this last election. What was your primary motivation in wanting to put this to the voters when there was a Supreme Court decision allowing gay marriage in California? What was your motivation?
Well, first of all, I wish we would not have had to do it because the voters had already voted on this to the tune of 61%. So when we saw democracy taken from us by 4 judges, we thought we ought to have another opportunity to express our desires on this particular thing. We would love to have not had to have gone through a second campaign after already winning so resoundingly in the first one.
What is your primary objection to gay marriage being acknowledged by the state?
Let me answer in twofold. Number one, as a follower of Jesus Christ, I believe the Bible clearly states it begins with a marriage and ends with a wedding. So consequently, as a Christian, I feel strongly, and all the world religions hold the same view. Secondly, as one who participates in the process democratically, I believe the will of the people should be upheld, and it was not.
All right. Now, Mayor Newsom, you have been a real mover in the battle to get rights for gay couples to marry and have the full complement of rights and equality that heterosexual marriages have. What was your big motivation, and what was your greatest fear when you saw this proposition coming on?
The idea of submitting the rights of an oppressed minority to the whims of a majority is the reason we have a constitution. Imagine if we did that in 1967 and submitted to the will of the people the determination by the U.S. Supreme Court after the Loving versus State of Virginia case that adjudicated unanimously that it was wrong and unconstitutional to disallow interracial marriage. The vast majority of Americans opposed interracial marriage. Imagine if we brought that to the people. So I believe in fundamental rights. I believe in equal rights, to answer your question, and I believe in the rights of the gay community.
Here's a question that I personally haven't had a satisfactory answer to. Isn't it possible to be equal but different?
Of course not, Dr. Phil. Come on. Brown versus Board of Education, 1954. The notion that separate is now somehow equal, that's anathema to what America has always stood for. If anyone here, and I don't know if any of the proponents of Prop 8 believe that separate is now equal or decry the principles of Brown versus Board of Education, I mean, the idea that the separate institution is somehow equal is not something this country has necessarily seen fit to acknowledge since that landmark Supreme Court decision. So to now acknowledge it for a gay community, I think is wrong.
Okay, Margaret, you seem really ready to...
It's not discrimination to treat different things differently. The difference listen, bans on interracial marriage were about keeping 2 races separate so that one race could oppress the other, and that was wrong. Marriage is about bringing together the 2 great halves of humanity, male and female, in part so that children can know and be known by, and love and be loved by their own mother and father. from whether you like it or not, is that there's only one acceptable position on this. And I'll tell you, the American people are getting pretty tired of it. The majority of courts and the majority of Americans do not think marriage is a civil rights issue. We do not think that you have an individual right to redefine marriage to make it mean what you'd like it to mean. And we think there's an important reason why in almost every known human society, marriage has been seen as intrinsically a union of husband and wife, because these are the only kind of unions that can both make new life and connect those children in love to their mother and father.
Let me ask you a question.
Same-sex marriage repudiates that idea.
Let me ask you a question. Did this proposition take away civil rights from people, from California residents?
No, I absolutely disagree with that. First of all of the practical rights and benefits to help people live their lives are still available through civil unions. Secondly, the people of California in their constitution have a core constitutional right, a civil right to do what we did, which is to speak, to organize, to vote, and to donate. And no American should be subjected to a campaign calling them haters and bigots, threatening their property, threatening their persons, threatening their livelihoods, because they peacefully and lawfully participated in the democratic process, especially not religious minorities.
All right. Next, our panel weighs in on the controversy over gay marriage campaign ads that even got celebrities into the fight. Did they go too far? Were they unfair? Were they misleading on both sides? We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ellen DeGeneres. I got to do something this year that I thought I'd never be able to do. I got married. It was the happiest day of my life. There are people out there raising millions of dollars to try to take that right away from me. You've seen their ads on TV. They're twisting the truth, and they're trying to scare you. I believe in fairness. I believe in compassion. I believe in equality for all people.
Betrayal, all new Saturday, 9/8 Central, only on OWN.
Well, the election may be over, but passionate debate continues around the country following a ballot measure that amended the state constitution here in California to make gay marriage illegal. Now, this was the most expensive social issue campaign in U.S. history, totaling $74 million. Close to $36 million was spent to stop gay marriage, while almost $38 million was raised in an effort to support it. But there are claims from both sides that the campaign ads were misleading.
4 judges ignored 4 million voters and imposed same-sex marriage on California.
This door's wide open now. It's gonna happen, whether you like it or not.
What upset me the most is the lies in the campaigns of the Yes on Prop 8.
Mom, guess what I learned in school today?
What, sweetie?
I learned how a prince married a prince, and I can marry a princess.
After Massachusetts legalized gay marriage, our son came home and told us the school taught him that boys can marry other boys. He's in 2nd grade.
The messages that were out for Prop 8 made it sound like those of us that were on the yes side were hateful.
Have you seen the TV ads for Prop 8? They're absolutely not true, says California's Superintendent of Public Schools.
Our schools aren't required to teach anything about marriage. And using kids to lie about that is shameful.
Opponents of Proposition 8 said gay marriage has nothing to do with schools. Then a public school took 1st graders to a lesbian wedding, calling it a teachable moment.
A lot of the stuff said that churches were going to be penalized, that children were going to be taught homosexuality, that just a lot of hateful propaganda that wasn't true.
Keep government out of all of our lives. Don't eliminate marriage for anyone. Vote no on Prop 8.
Gay marriage will be taught in our schools, unless we vote yes on Proposition 8.
Vote against discrimination and vote no on 8. We don't have to accept this.
Whether you like it or not.
Yes on 8.
Well, here to discuss the campaign and in support of same-sex marriage are equal rights advocate and attorney Gloria Allred, Joe Salmonese from the Human Rights Campaign, and San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom. Against gay marriage are Pastor Jim Garlow of the Skyline Church in San Diego County, Maggie Gallagher of the National Organization of Marriage, and Jeff Flint from the Yes on 8 campaign. Jeff, let me ask you, were these ads talking about children being taught about gay marriage in the schools? Were those misleading? Were they unfair?
They're absolutely not misleading, because the experience shows that in the states where gay marriage was legalized, children were taught about it in schools, and for them to say it's not true is for them to call the Worklands, who you saw in one of those ads, liars, and they're not. It happened to them.
Well, first of all, what our community is as upset about as this defeat is the fact that it was a defeat that was orchestrated on a bunch of lies, and you saw that in these television commercials, and it is why the superintendent of schools and the head of the California School Board was out there trying to speak truth to these lies. They could not find an education official in the state to back up the claim that they were making.
First, let's just listen to this. First, they call you haters and bigots if you disagree with them on marriage. Now they call you liars if you disagree with them about the consequences of gay marriage. The truth is, constitutional rights are generally taught about in public schools. I don't know if it's the Human Rights Campaign, but a number of the gay marriage equality groups were in Massachusetts arguing in court that parents have no right to withdraw from instruction about gay marriage in schools. I guarantee you that if we did not reverse Prop 8, that the first time a parent was finding out that a California school teacher was teaching their second grader about gay marriage, and they went in and objected, and if that hit the news, all of these groups would be saying, well, of course, what's your problem with teaching about gay marriage? It's the law of the land.
Gloria, I've never known you to be quiet so long. So just weigh right in.
Yeah, I'm really sorry that you didn't do your homework, because let me tell you what in August, a Superior Court judge in Sacramento County, Judge Frawley, found that the ballot argument of Yes on 8 in reference to children being required to learn that same-gender marriage is the same as traditional marriage was a false argument and must be removed from the ballot argument of Yes on 8. False in the words of the court itself. So the reason that he found it was false is because in California, Education Code 51890 allows any parent to remove their child from a class from the health board, and no one is being required to learn about same-gender marriage.
All right, Pastor Garlow?
And in states where we have this, in Lexington, Massachusetts, for example, they have opt-out laws as well in Massachusetts. But since this is the way the judges ruled, since same-sex marriage is legal, you cannot opt your child out of that. They were denied the privilege of doing that over and over, and made every appeal, went to court twice on this issue. The historical models all deny parents the right to teach what they want to teach.
The other thing that needs, because there's a flaw in that argument, they're saying if it's not going to be taught in schools, then why do you need an opt-out?
California Supreme Court said, in ruling that everyone has a fundamental right to choose to marry the person who is otherwise eligible to be married, that is a fundamental right, that the children of same-gender couples are harmed if they cannot have their parents married in the same way that opposite-sex
couples. Here's what's going on here. It is not as palatable or popular as it used to be a bigot, to be homophobic. So what are they doing here? They're changing the subject. They're talking about the unintended consequences. What's going to happen in school? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? The bottom line is, we ought to have a conversation about the merits of marriage equality. You said before the break, you posed the question, what rights are we losing here? What is the difference between civil unions and marriage? There is a clear difference between civil unions and marriage, and the people in this audience who have been fighting for marriage equality clearly understand.
All right, let's talk about that when we come back. Up next, civil rights versus the religious right. We'll debate the connection between church and state and who has the responsibility here when we come back.
This is
is about love, this is about freedom, this is about equality, and to discriminate against anybody is wrong.
If we're going to talk about equality, gays only talk about that in terms of same sex. What about other sexual orientations, like, say, for instance, polygamy, or pedophilia, or bestiality, or necrophilia?
Marriage is between a man and a woman, and the California voters already decided that last week.
We're just like you, straight America. We love our son and we love each other and want the rights of every other family in America.
Seth, what do you want to tell America?
What do you want for Christmas?
Equal rights.
Yeah, equal rights for Christmas.